welcome, guys. I'm so happy to have you guys and be back with you guys this evening. Woo, y'all! I am in the throes of summer. We are so delighted to have you here on the show, Essential Pedagogy. For those of you who don't know the show, and this is your first time here, let me introduce you to the show properly. The show is about bringing insiders and outsiders of education together so that we can have. I have a little bit of feedback here. So sorry. I don't know what's going on. But insiders and outsiders of education and bringing the insiders and outsiders to understand each other and build compassion with one another. So that is why I started this podcast during the pandemic. I had a lot of inquiries about education as parents were responsible for having their own children and teaching their children lessons and essentially being 100%, almost 100% in charge of their education, and how lots of people were confused and frazzled. And that was something that was second nature to most educators because, well, all educators, because we've just been doing it and it seems second nature, but it really isn't. It is a science and a art. So just wanted to introduce the show properly. We do have a guest today. I want to introduce you to a dear friend and colleague, Lucretia Kennedy, or Thomas Kennedy, and she is a doctoral candidate. She's been working with in education for many, many years, very close to retirement. And I want to get her expertise because right now she is in the area of counseling. She's in the process of getting her LPC and practicing privately as well as in the public schools. And I brought her on to talk to you guys about cyberbullying and how cyberbullying can move from school, home, and back to school again, and what parents can do about cyberbullying, and really what the true definition of cyberbullying is. I think it's been too loosely used. And so I just want to talk to Lucretia for a bit to get her perspective. But first, Lucretia, if you can just introduce everyone here at Essential Pedagogy, who you are. Tell us who you are. Tell us how many years you've been in education and what your specialty is.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me, Stephanie. It is definitely an honor. I've been in education for over 25 plus years. I can say that.
How many years again?
25 plus. I'm not really sure. I'm like working on like 27 perhaps. Because I am almost close to retiring, but I love what I do so much that I'm going to be in the game a little bit longer. Just because the kids do need that extra emotional support, and basically talking about what we're moving into now, this digital world. And that's one of the reasons why cyberbullying, it kind of hit home as well. I work in public schools now. I service kids that actually have an IEP, which is an individual education plan, and receive counseling services. So I also work in offering services through my district. So that's something, I've been doing for the past 3 years. And it's really getting very I'll say it's challenging, but at the same time, it's heartbreaking when you see young kids that they're now suicidal, and that's why this topic of bullying is so important. And the parents that say, "Oh, my kid is good," it wouldn't happen to me. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm a school counselor, certified professional school counselor, working on my doctorate in higher education leadership. Have taught my kids, what to do in case of, someone bothering you or whatever. But it's different when they feel it's their friend. So that's how we need to be careful of who we allow our kids to call friend, because that's how they slide into that situation where, and they don't want to tell on their friends and get them in trouble, but yet they're battling something that you wouldn't even have an idea, and how detrimental it can be to their mental health. And that's what I'm really speaking about. That mental health is so important, especially that dear age, in that middle school age. Brain is not fully developed. So sometimes when things are happening, they're not really thinking it through. And we have the different ADHD, hypertension, you're just acting, and a lot of people blame their impulsive behavior based on their disability of being hyperactive. And so some of the kids, they do different things and then they later say, "Oh, I was just playing." You were playing because you got caught. So
Mhm.
that's the biggest key. And I'll be honest with you and be very transparent that I was in a situation where my son, 13-year-old, straight A student, never had any problems at school, um, able to have a skill of being able to play baseball and play sports and everything else. And, some of his friends started bullying him through cyber bullying, which is through text messaging online. And uh, he plays baseball. And then he decided to take some of his pictures and post it into a group chat and then taunt him and calling him inappropriate names. And he's just trying to figure out, like, aren't these my friends? Like, what I do to you? Like, he can't figure it out. He's trying to process it. So, and then in the end of it, he says something that would break any parent's heart to hear their child see it in any kind of text or wording, that "I'm going to kill myself."
Yeah.
And our kids, they don't have the social skills that they really look like they should have, but that's where we're working on to help build up our students. And that's why they have counselors in school, and
Mhm.
everyone has access to either a academic counselor, a impact counselor, or as well as a therapist type counselor at their school. And they call them impact. Different schools call them different things, but guess what? It's free to you while your kid is in public education. And some people like to get outside counseling, and then we have different things that you can benefit from that. But when your kid is in the moment, you want to know that somebody's going to be there to talk to your child
Yeah.
and deal with that. So that's one of the biggest things. I would definitely have to tell you how to use that service.
Okay, so to just take a little bit of a step back, Lucretia, talk to me about, because you mentioned that parents are having to um, talk to their children and really teach their children about what friendship looks like. Can
Yes.
you talk to us more about that?
Yes, and one of the things when kids play on different organizations, cheer, volleyball, and you're paying big money for these kids to be in these different sports and all these different organizations. So when it comes to the fact that now this is a friend, and they calling them friend because they're on their team and they're working together, but it's how that friend is responding to your child. If they're calling them names, and then if they start to make comments about whether it's the way their hair is because they have different hair texture. And little girls, biracial kids, they experience that a lot. I have cousins, I have nephews, they're biracial, and they've experienced some things of kids not being kind because, "Oh, my hair isn't like yours," or then they start to say, "Oh, well, you're different, and I'm not sure if I want to be around someone that doesn't look exactly like me." And sometimes it goes off as, oh, they didn't mean that. Well, sometimes things are being taught at home. And that's what we got to get into. What is being taught at home? And you got to teach your child how to have other peers or classmates, how they should be treating them. And if they're name calling or getting in, these, they like to put each other in these group texts. And that's why I want to go on these cell phones. Some kids are like want to fight you if you take their phone. So I'm telling you, that's how serious this is, to the point where we need to start checking our kids' phones. And that is how I was able to find out and research all that information just from picking up my son's phone and going through 3 different group text messages. I found out all that information. And
Wow.
that is where I'm at.
So you're saying that, Lucretia, even though you're a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
this has happened in your own family. Like no family is safe from something like this.
Absolutely no one. And it's sad. And one thing I remember just last year, my son, after we came back from the Christmas break, he played football. And it was another young student that took his own life in the 8th grade. This is, dear, it broke my heart. When you're coming back out there, having a break, and then to get mass emails saying we're going to, we have to say we have lost a classmate. And my son knew of him, but he didn't know him personally. He just knew he was on the football team. He's an 8th grader. So that
Mhm.
was one of the things that really hit home. And he was African American. So it was like, wow, what is really going on? And I know no parent want to ever hear that call that their kid is not here or they're fighting for their life because they decided it's too tough to deal with their peers. They made them feel so bad and taunting them, calling them names, and making sure that you're checking on your kids' social emotional
So,
well-being.
so Lucretia, can you tell us a little bit about what the difference is between just teasing
Oh,
and bullying?
okay. So of course, teasing is, your kids may tease with each other. And one thing you have to make sure your kid understands, when a person tells you to stop or tells you no, that should be it. It shouldn't be any further. You have to respect their wishes. The minute you don't respect your friend or they don't respect your wishes, that's not being a good friend. And you have to remember your no is real. And that is something you have to be confident and say when someone is saying something that hurts your feeling, make you feel any kind of way, or make you feel like, hey, I did something wrong. And remember, you never did anything wrong. If they're just being evil spirit, mean, and sometimes it's jealousy. And I
Mhm.
have to say, kids get jealous of each other just because they have a good person on the team. Well, they don't look at it as, we all are doing well. We're all getting better. But they get envious of the fact that they don't have a spotlight. And that could cause another kid to want that spotlight, to start to call those names or do just mean, evil spirited things. Yeah.
Mhm. So, Lucretia, you know, w- we really need to be doing some work at home. Like we really need to teach our children what boundaries are, what
Yes.
personal boundaries are, like, and teach them that your boundary may be a high five, but my boundary is I don't want to even touch you, or
Yeah.
I don't want you touching me. And so we need to really have personal discussions at home with our children about what boundaries are, what to do if someone crosses your boundary, your personal boundary, and how to handle whether someone continues even
Hmm.
after you ask them to stop
Right.
to cross your boundaries. What are some of those suggestions that you may give parents in how to coach their children?
Well, typically a kid, especially if they feel the classmate or the friend, their friend, they think that person is their friend. Once they tell them no and they don't stop. They do need to reach out to a trusting adult. Maybe you need to ask your child, hey, do you have someone that if something was going on that you trust them enough that you would go talk to them? Because, you
Mhm.
know, when it's two in pairs, that's when the bullying can stop. That's when the mistreatment can stop. Some of the kids, they get scared because they don't know what to do and they see what's happening is not good. So then they like kind of just get quiet. Because some
The
kids
bystanders, right?
yeah,
That's what you
yeah,
call the
that's nice.
bystanders. Yeah.
Yes. So they get quiet because they're like, "Ooh, I don't know what to do. This is uncomfortable." So they just get quiet while you're there dealing with this taunting or going back and forth on a text thread, or they sending some ugly pictures, some pictures that you never knew they had, and they're posting and making jokes about it. And once that is put into play, that can make a kid still continue to feel bad about something. And it could be just the fact that your friend had a picture of you when y'all played on the baseball team or the football team, and they took the picture and then now they took it and did something else with it, because with this AI, with all these different things, people can change how the pictures look. They can put half of your body onto another character or something and make a joke out of it and think that was a funny joke. So that's how it starts. It starts out joking and then it gets bigger and it gets bigger. And then when you get an audience, and usually that's what a bully wants. And on cyberbullying, if it's in a text or a thread, they have the audience. And then when you try and get out of that text thread, now you're embarrassed and don't know how to recover from that. And that's when you need to report that, because it is against your privacy if they're taking pictures of you or putting it in a group chat or doing anything that is hurtful and taunting you with that, because you have a right to say, please take that down. And if you didn't want them to take a picture of you, you need to report that. And they do have to remove that because they don't have a right to have your pictures up. And a lot of kids will screenshot your pictures when you're on the group chat or on the video Zoom. And then they'll take that and then they'll use that and make little jokes out of it. So that's one of the
Yeah,
big,
make stickers and things
yeah,
like
are
yeah.
putting inappropriate things on there and saying you did something inappropriate and you didn't. And so making it seem like you did something or you're a label that you don't identify with. And a lot of kids love to label other kids. And when they want to call you names, like the biggest one now is, oh, you're gay or you're this and that. So they love to use those buzzwords that's going to hurt someone's feelings. And then that's when it goes a little further. And then the kid feels embarrassed, ashamed, and now they don't want to even speak up for themselves. So that's the biggest part of making sure they have the courage or have a friend that they trust that will support them and be there with them when they need to report it. Whether it's, you know, to the assistant principal, that's usually where your behavior problem is going to go to first. Assistant principal, and maybe even your teacher, one of your favorite teachers, someone that you know that will protect you and make sure you're safe and not make it where it was your fault, because sometimes people can say, oh, I see you guys cutting up all the time. So a teacher may see it as y'all playing and goofing off. Well, they really are taunting you. And the teacher didn't know that. So we got to be careful. And teachers don't always see the big picture because they don't investigate. And those are some things.
So I'm hearing you saying it's hard to identify.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and did I hear you say that the difference between teasing and bullying is a lot of times bullying has an audience?
Yes. And when they're harassing you or embarrassing you, or they're constantly making up a name that you didn't give them permission to call you. And
Yeah.
that's one of the big things too. Kids like, oh, I think I'm gonna nickname you this. Well, you don't get to call me that. If I don't agree with that, you don't get to call me that.
Hmm.
And one of the things I always tell my son, my kids, treat people how you want to be treated. And when you think about, why are you calling me that name? And then you may pause and ask them, does that make you feel good to call me that? Or are you really trying to hurt me? Is that what you're trying to do? And don't give them your power, because that's what the bully wants. They want the power. They want to hurt you. They want to make you feel sad. And when they figure out they got you at that level, then they start doing other things. They start building. And
So I
then that.
I can see where a child could be extremely confused because there could be a bully in a group that really started out to be your friend,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
thought they were your friend. And
Yeah.
so then you really have to do a good job at home as a parent to really identify and define friendship for your
Yeah.
child. Like what a
Yeah.
friend is like. Um,
Yes.
what does a friend do? Friend, is someone that is there when you need them, respects your privacy, respects your space, right?
That
So
celebrates you when you do good accomplishments and
yeah,
not get jealous of it. And that's what has been happening.
yeah.
When your child is getting these accolades and getting student of the month, making good grades, now that other kid may not have that going on in their life. So then they start to target you. Now you're the target. So even when we grew up, we always looked at if someone was a teacher's pet just because they made straight A's or something, you got labeled if you were very smart. And then that would cause, especially a young boy, to want to start acting out because they don't want to get that, teacher's pet, or this is a straight A student. So the teacher likes me and all the kids now are not going to like me. So that's that stigma of being a good kid, you being a teacher's pet. And so then the other kids want to tease and taunt. And that's how it kind of starts. Just that subtle, simple.
And it can escalate
Oh,
into
yes.
bullying.
Yes.
So
And it's
tell
law.
them.
It's a law against it. So that's why I want parents to realize you have rights. And it's David's law. And that's one of the things you can file. And then if they're doing anything like harassing, you can file Title IX with the schools. So those are things that you can call for harassment. And it's the school's responsibility to protect your child and make sure they're not being harassed or bullied. It's against the law. And so that's the part. Just making sure parents know their rights, know how to protect your child. And you can also put a stay away agreement for that kid that have been taunting or bothering your kid. A lot of parents tell you, oh,
Handled in secondary a lot.
yes, yes. And that helps a kid stay safe because that's that person not being a good friend. So having that stay away agreement put in place that can hold that other kid accountable when they come into their close proximity, and if the kid reports it, then they take actions on that. So it is something that you can ask for, especially if it's just been a mean-spirited kid in your child's class, or they just been having a hard time with that kid. And that would be one of the things I would definitely tell you to do to keep your child safe.
Talk to us about the setting in school where bullying is discussed. I know in my school we talk about cyberbullying and bullying in general, and we give um, um, social, social and emotional um, type of training to our students throughout the year through advisory time. So, talk to us more about what kind of school setting is bullying discussed?
So one of the things, as far as the school setting, the different things that it is by law that they have to teach those things to make sure the kids know what their rights are, and how to report. And a lot of time they have a lot of anonymous reporting. So kids can also, when they feel like, oh, I don't want, it's going to get worse if I tell, well, they can report anonymously. Yet where they don't have to, be singled out. And that can also help that kid from that bully. And at the end of the day, they have to have the courage to speak up because no one can fix what we don't know.
Yeah.
So that is the biggest thing. And I'm going to be honest, my kid didn't tell me anything. I had to go through his phone. So that is it. And most kids be like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm fine." No, they're not fine. And one
Mhm.
thing I can tell you, you'll find a lot about what's going on with your child. All you do is go through their phone, look
Yep.
at what's going on, what their conversations are. And that's our job, to protect our kids and make sure they are safe, because it's predators on a lot of different websites. And
Mhm.
we need to be careful about what they're watching, because that could be why your child is bullying. They watching something thinking it's funny. That ain't funny.
Yeah.
That's not a joke. So we got to be careful and mindful of what they're watching.
They misinterpret something that they see on television as a prank, a,
Yes.
a pervasive prank, as something that they see on TV and everybody's laughing. So they think, well, it's not so bad because they see it on television or YouTube or whatever. Well, it's still making them feel bad and they're confused about their feelings,
Yes.
right?
Right. And one thing about another, I remember giving some advice to a kid that he did come off as a bully, and he had no friends. Most of the time, bullies, they've been bullied by someone, or they don't have any friends, so they're looking for that relationship of a friend, and they don't know how to get it appropriately. So sometimes, and that's what I've been able to help kids do, have friendships, building good friendships, showing them how to get a friend. And I remember the kid, the minute he connected with another young man, they were friends, and he literally changed. He stopped being mean to other kids. It was like a light switch went off. And I remember seeing him later on when he went to middle school, because I would usually travel between different schools. That particular kid, he thanked me for helping him find a friend. And that just really changed his world, and it stopped him from being a bully. So that is it. So all of them aren't really wanting to be mean or hateful. Sometimes they're not getting the love from home that they want, or the attention. It could be too many kids at home. And sometimes they're not the favorite kid. So we got to be mindful. They need some help. So usually they need to help. And even when you find out they've been bullying, hopefully you can offer them to get some help and recommend it for them to get some kind of help.
So we got a question about would you think uh you- would you think if what do you think if the topic is discussed a lot at school? It is discussed a lot at school, so much so to me, I feel like it's discussed a lot at school to where it is misused kind of as a um like a weapon, right? I'm going to report you for bullying, right? Sometimes kids use it as a weapon. It is known in the schools. It's not like it's not unknown, but the real accounts of bullying that really happens is because the child thinks that maybe they're friends, right? And they are misinterpreting friendship. And so they're thinking, "Oh, if they're my friends, then maybe I should laugh this off, but I don't feel good about it, right?" Um, it is taught so much and talked about so much in schools, so much the parents talk about, and I think parents sometimes misuse it because they don't really know the true definition of bullying or teasing. Um, I had a mother get very upset because her daughter was pretty developed and pretty girl, beautiful girl. Well, she's being teased by some boys. And from my perspective, the boys had a crush on her and didn't know how to show their emotions in that way. So they teased her, right? And it made her feel uncomfortable. It made her feel, but it didn't happen in my class. Now, we don't do teasing in my class, but the mother mentioned it to me that it was happening like in between classes. Um, and that around athletics time and all that. So I got pulled into some things because I'm just calling because she missed a quiz or something like that, or she has a failing grade on something. And then mother mentions this. So then I have to spring to action to do something about it. But it is not a secret. Bullying is not a secret. It is a mainstream topic, sometimes misused, sometimes not. But all inquiries need to be investigated, and we do. We do. It's just that it gets exhausting, and sometimes most interactions are not bullying, but when there are some, we spring to actions with um, the interaction agreements and things like that, which it sometimes is hard because the students tend to think of their bully person as a friend, and they want to make up, and so then they end up kind of trying to get back a friendship that they thought they had, right? So it just is a very messy situation that I wish we did a better job as parents, as mentors, to teach our children what true friendship look like, what boundaries look like, so that our students can assert themselves in the proper way, right? Looks like Lucretia is having a little bit time getting back on, but yeah, we just it is a big issue, and no one is immune to this happening in their personal family. There are things that you can do outside of school, because some of these things happen during, their activities with sports and things like that, that's done in the summertime, but they happen to go to school with some of these uh, kiddos that they are in summer programs with, and so things spill into school, and you guys will be very shocked about how quickly some behaviors are just bubbled up right when school starts because of some drama that happened outside of school. We're like, wait a minute, that was some beef from the summertime. Why y'all bring that in here? But that it does happen because cyberbullying makes it ever present at all times. Um, that's what, like, social media and being able to get people's attention at any time of the day, that's what part of it, it just wasn't something that happened when I was growing up, because we had those little turnstile kind of phones. I can't even remember what they're called now, but you had to put your finger in one at a time and then let it do its thing and get back into the right position so you can do number 9 and 7 and wait. 2. You know what I mean? Like it's so funny. Okay. Oh, you back.
Yes, I
Yay.
had to leave out and come back. I couldn't figure out what's going on with my camera. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but we're just talking about how um gosh, we beat this topic at school I mean, it's like a dead horse. We talk about it all the time. Parents know about it. They may not always know their rights, and they may not know what everything is called,
right.
but certainly if you tell a teacher, if you tell an administrator, we will do something about it. It's not something that we will ignore. Is that right?
That is correct. And that's the one thing that we have to make sure the kid tells probably more than one person, because, of course, teachers get busy. Sometimes they forget to report as well. So we just got to be mindful of, you may have to tell more than one person, or you may have to do it more than once. So
Mhm.
that's the thing. And sometimes kids feel like, oh, well, they're not going to do anything because they think they're supposed to see the teacher or the principal give the kid a consequence in person, but you're not going to see that. They will
Mhm.
have them privately. That's their rights to be able to get a consequence privately. So that's what a lot of kids misconstrue. Oh, they're not going to do anything. No, they will. You're not
Or
going
they
to.
didn't do anything. Oh, I reported it and nothing happened.
That's
So
it.
the narrative at home is I reported it, nothing happened. That's not always the case. You
Right.
it we if some we give them consequences privately, and we have a non-interaction agreement, that child's not supposed to be in your vicinity. Doesn't mean that nothing happened just because you didn't see them go to ISS, in-house
Right.
suspension or out of school suspension. That doesn't mean that a consequence wasn't given.
Right. Yes.
Wow. Talk to me more about whether what should a parent do if this didn't happen in school, if this is happening outside of school hours.
Well, right now, school is in summer session, and you may have found out information while you're out of school, but you have the right to still report it to protect your child when school starts. You need to set up a meeting with either the assistant principal or the principal, and if you can't get their attention, you can go a little higher. You can go to the district student services. They will be able to handle your complaint or issue, and it's best to get it in writing. The minute you put that document, then they have to respond. They have to do an investigation. So don't feel like, oh, it's the summertime, it's nothing. You could be playing in a after school activity and get bullied from a kid that goes to your school, and you can still report that because it's still something that would affect the child. So parents need to know their rights just because it happened outside of school. But if that kid still goes to your student's school and they're bothering them at school, even though they bullied them outside of school, you still can report it. And that's kind of what happened with my son. The text messages were after school because, they have a no phone policy while during school. So even I was able to realize all of it happened on the bus. They took pictures of him on the bus. They taunted. They did all kind. And on the bus, it's a lot of disruptive behavior. You can call the bus barn. Guess what? You can report bullying on the bus as well. So don't think it doesn't happen. It happens a lot. Happens on the bus. You will be surprised. And those are the conversations that need to be had and asked. Hey, how was the bus ride? Some kids ride the bus. They may not tell you the fight or two that happened just in that day. They forgot. So much happened in a day. You may have to kind of ask a little bit more detailed questions because I'm here to tell you a lot of things happen in that 8-hour day that if you don't ask, they're not going to tell you. Or they didn't forgot about it. It's already over. They get immune to it. So
So parents don't need to just accept, how was your day? Great, fine. We need to do more probing, huh?
yes, that's what I mean. Yes. And usually sometimes my kids say it was good. Tell me what was good about it.
Yeah,
Yes. Give me that highlight of your day. And then let them know you're really, excited about what the day is like. So
yeah.
create those tables at the dinner table, those conversations, and let your child know that, they can always come to you if anything has happened. But you want to know. And some people think, oh, my child tells me everything. You'll be surprised.
Oh yeah, kids don't tell everybody everything. Yeah, I didn't know every little thing that was happening at my child's school or children's school, but we did have drive time home together. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of things I would force myself not to listen to the radio or anything like that, but maybe I would listen to something like Hidden Brain, or I would listen to like a 20-minute um two guys two guys in your head kind of psychology type
Okay.
show, and then I would ask them questions about how they feel about that show. And then you will think personal things. They'll start talking about personal things once you direct them to, well, do you think Billy should have handled it that way
Right.
in in this podcast, right?
Right.
Or I would have handled it because one time, things
Mm,
will start coming out, but you gotta have time to talk to your child. We
yes.
can always eat at the dinner table, but we use that drive time to and from school to really do some connecting and finding out, what was going on in each other's lives.
Right. And know your child because every kid is, some kids want to just decompress. They may not want to talk to you right after school. You got to know your child. So
Yeah.
you got to get that quality time, whether it's right before bed, whatever that time is for your child. Because I have two boys and they've
Mhm.
totally different. One is a night owl and the other is not. So I get that one-on-one with my oldest because he's a night owl because he's usually up doing homework. That's why he's a night owl. But my other kid, I got to catch him right after practice or before practice because he's usually doing some type of sport or playing something or in a band or doing something like that. So you just got to know your kid and know when the right time to ask those questions because sometimes they just tell you no because they don't want to talk. And you say,
Mm.
well, can we talk later? Or, you got to get a
Got
time.
told.
Yes, you have to. You have to do that. Yes.
Um, the reason I talk so much about parents' involvement with their own child, especially because we have a lot of parents that are who present themselves to be very concerned about their child and their child being bullied, but then they don't talk to their child.
Yes. I can honestly tell you, I have a couple of students that say that their parents don't talk to them. And I was kind of shocked. Um, and I had to ask a question later on. The kids starting having problems at school because they're not getting the information or getting that communication from their parents, and that is so important. When a kid feel like you're not talking to them, they're gonna start acting out, and that's one thing about it. And this is something that kids, they need that interaction with you as a parent. So talk to your child. You may think that they don't want to talk to you because you're the adult, but they do. They want to talk to you. Yeah, they do.
So someone on the power team was saying that most parents don't talk to their kids because they are tired from working their normal day. And it is a hard truth. But the truth, another truth is that their child did not ask to be here, and that's just one sacrifice. You
Right.
know, one of the sacrifices I made, I didn't buy myself socks.
Okay.
If I couldn't get my kids socks, I just didn't get any. There were certain things that I didn't buy myself during the time when times were hard financially. It was a sacrifice, and so I view my personal time and me being tired. That was no so. My
Right.
children has to be here, so I have to make time for them because I don't want to be responsible for them cracking up. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the good thing, just having that safe place to talk. And like even now I'm recreating, like when we're doing a little quick little check-in, and then I told him, I said, we're going to do Bible study. It's like we're doing it at our church, we're doing the Bible study. So I'm actually sitting down with them and we're going through a Bible study and spending that intentional time, and they enjoy that. You would be surprised what your kids will like if you can give them that, whether it's even watching movies together. Your kids want some intentional time. So if you can start building that, then you'll be so surprised at what they will tell you in those moments. So I just really encourage you to spend that quality time with your kids, asking those questions that you hope that they know what to do, or they're not embarrassed to speak up, or even help a friend be that stand up person for one of their friends, because they
Yeah,
see a lot. They see a lot throughout the day. They may not be getting bullied, but they may be a bystander letting someone else get bullied, and that's still not okay.
yeah. Um, not to bring up, not to. So I've been knowing about bystanders, right? But then I really saw it come to life in the P. Diddy trial because I've been keeping up with that. I know it's like a guilty little thing for me. I'm sorry. But they mentioned it in the trial that if these okay, so there were some atrocious things that went on with several ladies by the hands of this man. Okay. And so there he was surrounded by people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What happened was the question of, well, if they were being abused and they were not willing participants, why didn't people speak up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was brought up that people typically don't stand up and help people when there's more than one witness.
Mm.
They're like waiting for the other person. If they're not saying nothing, then I'm not gonna say anything, right? So
Yeah.
that's that group of bystander kind of behavior that a lot of humans succumb to, not just children, but human beings. They will do it. They're more willing to help. There's a case where a woman was literally screaming for help for her life, and no one helped her because everybody saw other people looking at this woman,
Mm.
and they just thought, well, if she was really hurt, somebody else would.
Step
But
up.
no, you can.
Yeah.
you
Well,
you
and a lot of people don't want to get involved. That's the biggest thing. It's not like you're getting involved, you're helping someone. So sometimes, even if you just report it, you don't have to do anything, just report it. If you can report it, just like with the P Diddy trial, and some of those people could have reported some of that, but they accepted the lifestyle that that person was inflicting on that person because of that power and the money. And so, just like a kid in middle school, they want the popularity kid, they want to be with the cool kid. So that's why someone may not be a good stand up, because they don't want that cool kid to get mad at them. Or you know what? They're afraid, oh, they're not talking about me. So I'm just gonna be quiet.
they may crack on me next, right?
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Like, be very mindful of, once you report it, it has to stop, and you got to report it maybe more than once.
And
So that's the
then if
big.
it's happening outside of school, they can also do like police reports too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can file their harassment, but what I found out as well is, if they're constantly in a group chat with the person,
Hmm.
then the harassment won't stick too well. You got to be where you're blocking that person, and that person is steady coming after you in different forms of social media. So
Yeah.
you got to be able to prove that
Stalking you kind of in a way. Yeah.
you got to be able to prove that I tried to get away and stop, and this person kept harassing me. So that's really it. That's what you can do. It's a lot of different things you can do. And once you involve the police, I think you get everybody's attention, because kids don't want to go to juvenile, because they have a place for kids too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Juvenile jail. There is
Mm-hmm.
such thing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can we just quickly recap before you go about some things about cyberbullying? And then we can just tell the people how they can possibly, you know, how they can get in touch with their schools, or how they can get in touch with anybody if they have any questions about cyberbullying.
Absolutely. One thing about it is, you want to be able to contact your school, even if it's out of school, because principals, they're on contract a little bit longer, and they come back early. So I want to let you know, they'll be back on contract by July, the third week in July, maybe sometime earlier. So they're
Yeah.
back on contract. So you can report and get things going before school starts, and get things prepared, and making sure you find out who your school counselors are, who your impact counselors are, and see how you can get your child connected, because that's free services that you can get. And one thing about it is, your child deserves all of the resources that are available to them. And if not, they have different free services offering for counseling, because even in my district, they have counseling for free for students that are in the district.
They
Any,
even do it through Zoom. Hmm.
yeah, yes, they do. So it's a lot of, and your through your insurance, you can get that going for your child, getting them some free counseling. Typically, it's 3 free services of counseling through your insurance. So I know that EPA. So that's one of the things to reach out to, that, because I know even some teachers forget that they have that. When they're stressed out, they need a counselor too. So they can file on their insurance and go see a counselor, get some help, and make sure that they're reporting when someone is not being kind and harassing them. And I know a lot of people say the buzzword, oh, people always say bullying just because someone says something mean one time, but it's the constant and the embarrassment and the repeated over and over. That's when it's bullying. And when you've asked them several times to stop and no, stop, all that's the same. And no playing. We don't play like that. So you have to make sure you let people know we're not playing. This isn't a game and we're not joking around. So please stop. So hopefully you can get the connections with your school, the principals, and also the impact counselors, because every school has at least one and sometimes two or three, especially at the middle school. They have at least three counselors available for the kids. So just want to hope that you would reach out to your schools and help your child have a voice. Don't let them not have their voice.
Very good. I am thanking you so much for being on the show, Lucretia. I really appreciate it, making it clear to all those that are listening about um, counseling students through, like at home and at school, through bullying situations. Also, giving parents tips on how students can identify what a friend looks like,
Yes.
so that they're not confused and people willingly use other people. And talking about some of the services that school has for them and the steps they need to take in order to report and some of their rights with
Right.
agreements and things like that. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much for highlighting that. Lucretia and I, we go way back. We met one another at church and we've been friends ever since. I know her boys, and I think they're just great people. And I just wish there were just more parents and
Yes.
people who care about people just like you, Lucretia.
But thank you. I enjoyed it, Stephanie. Thank you. Thank you for this platform because you're doing an awesome job. So many people need to watch this and see this. So thank you for doing all that you do.
Well, speaking of watch, please follow me on YouTube and subscribe there and put the little bell up to remind you, because I don't do this every day. It's not going to pop up every day, but I do this first and third Thursday. So follow me on YouTube. I really appreciate you, Lucretia. And until next time, we'll see you in 2 weeks
Okay.
at Essential Pedagogy.
Awesome.